Hi everyone, this is Ricky with Bromero Cards. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be making a card using pretty much all Concord 9th products. I love this company. They have some of the most intuitive stamp sets there are, so I thought we would play with some of them today. So the first thing we're going to be playing with is the Woodland Turnabout stamp. If you're not aware of what these are, or if you don't know how to use them, make sure you go to the Concord 9th website to check that out. We're also going to be using the matching dies. We're going to be using some Concord 9th colors. We're going to be using wheat and sea glass, and these are new colors. They're all brand new colors that Concord 9th released last month. So the next two colors we're going to be using are Dove and Grapefruit, and we're pretty much going to be using these for the Turnabout stamp. We're going to be using the 110 pound Nina Solar White for the card base, Concord 9th Sea Glass colored paper, some white paper, and some that's the card base that's going to be used to do the Turnabout, which is cut at 5.5 by 5.5. So we're going to go ahead and get the MISTI out here. Pretty much need a MISTI in order to use these stamps, so just make sure that you have a MISTI or a stamp positioning tool to do this. You could probably do it by hand. I would not want to try it. So basically what I'm going to do is put the paper here in the MISTI. I've already placed my stamp onto the MISTI because I made a card prior to this. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get this inked up with some grapefruit. And you just want to lightly touch, because if you press too hard, the ink will get on the flat part of the stamp, and it could be possible that it presses down on your paper when you go to press this down. I'm just going to rub the MISTI a little bit to make sure that we're getting a good impression, and we'll open it up. And you want to be careful because you want to make sure that you are pretty much in the same spot every time that you go to do the stamping here. So there's a few pieces or a few things that are not stamping as well. I probably didn't press down hard enough, and that's fine. We just do it twice. So we're going to go ahead and get that inked up, and we'll just press that down again and make sure that there's a good impression there. I didn't press too hard because, as you can see, there's some ink on the flat layer of that stamp, and you don't want it to fill in any of that paper. Next thing you're going to do is just rotate it right. You're going to make sure it's in the exact same position. And then what we're going to do is wipe off our stamp and then use the next color. We're going to use Dove. And we're going to stamp this up the same way. And once we get it stamped, we just go over to we stamp it. Then we're going to rotate it to the right. Sometimes you'll forget to do this, but as you get experienced with these stamps, you'll realize every time you'll need to go ahead and get that turned. The next color we're going to be using is wheat, and we'll go ahead and get that placed onto the stamp, and we'll get that stamped over as well. Again, a light touch. You don't want to go too hard on this. And we'll go ahead and get that stamped over, and we'll move on to the next color. The same here. I'm just going to lightly press, make sure that we're getting a good impression, but don't want to press it all the way down so that that extra ink doesn't get on the card. And I'm just pressing in some spots where I know I was having some issues earlier with the stamp. Not saying it's a bad stamp, I just did not do well at stamping. And then lastly here, we're going to go ahead and get this turned around, and we'll go ahead and stamp this last one. Now, this is a little off. Some of the images are closer to one another than they should be, but it's fine. No one's going to really notice it. Also, I'm going to be cutting out the middle of this or covering it up, so it's not that much of a big deal. Lastly, we're going to go in with the sea glass here, and the same thing. We're just going to coat this stamp up pretty good, and then go ahead and get that stamped over, and that'll complete the Turnabout stamp or the background paper. And you could use these stamps to make your own backgrounds. It's pretty amazing. So I have a ridiculous amount of pattern paper that I could be using, but no, I need to stamp mine out. So we're going to go ahead and get this lid off here, and we got a pretty good impression. I'm just going to press a couple places that are a little light, but nothing too major. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and get this cut down. I cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4. And what I like to do is actually go ahead and chop paper off of both sides when I'm doing this so that there's an even amount of white space on the side and all that great stuff. The next thing we're going to do is going to go ahead and cut out some sea glass paper, but we're also going to be cutting out a little animal here in a few seconds. The first thing we're going to do is just go ahead and cut out this square out of the sea glass paper, and we'll just go ahead and get that onto the die cutting platform and get that going through to through the machine. Now with that we have the die on the sea glass paper, we're going to go ahead and get this white piece that's going to be cut out because that's going to be layered as well. So we'll go ahead and get that taped up, and we'll go ahead and get that through the die cutting machine along with the blue or the sea glass. Oh, do you hear the reindeer behind me? That's Ivy. Of course, doing a voiceover, and she has to be known. Anyway, we have the blue cardstock cut out here, and we also have the white cardstock with the stitched border, which is a nice detail that I really like. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out like one of these little animals here. We're going to die cut this little skunk, little cutie, and we'll just go ahead and get this die lined up. It does do a white border on the outside of the animal, so that's nice. If you don't like that, you could die cut it, or you could die cut it and then fussy cut the edges, and if you want it right onto the edge. So we'll go ahead and get him through the die cutting machine so that we can get him processed through. So here we have him. We're ready to start putting the card together. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and get this glued down. I'm going to use my art glitter glue here. I always talk about this glue because I love the tip. It's one of my favorite glues. And so we're going to go get that glued down to the square, and oh, look at that. My head didn't show up, and I got it on straight. How is that even possible? Who's doing this card? Who's making it? So now what we're going to do is we are going to get the sentiment placed onto this card. We're just going to be using a sentiment that is from the Turnabout stamp, and already have them placed onto the MISTI, but I need to rearrange them because they're in a different position than the last card I made. So we'll go ahead and get these guys placed onto the white cardstock, and I'm just going to make sure that it's straight. I'm pretty lucky with the bottom one because we have that stitched line, so we can always use that line to get the sentiment straight. And then the top, I'm just going to check the lines on the MISTI to make sure that it's even, and it's going to be looking pretty good. So we also stamped this out in the sea glass ink, and to match the background of the Turnabout, which is why, you know, when you have a company that has all matching inks and papers, I mean, it's pretty awesome. So yeah, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some 3M foam tape on the back of the skunk. I did not have it at my desk, so I had to go away and get it really quick and come back. And what we'll do is we will place him in the center of this square here, and he's going to be like the focal point for this card. So we'll get him onto the square there, and then we will actually then get this square placed onto the background. So one thing that I like to do is usually when I'm going to cover a card up, I try to take out the middle of the card so that I can use that piece of paper. This didn't really work out that well because we only needed one animal, but if I was going to do a bunch of animals, and I probably could have actually, I would have just taken all of them out from underneath the square, so I would have them for future cards. But I did not. So we're going to go ahead and get this placed onto the card. This is liquid glue, which buys us some time to go ahead and get this straightened onto the card. And I'm using my T-ruler here, but I think I may need to get a different T-ruler because for some reason, sometimes it doesn't work very well. But I think it's because of the grooves in the T-ruler. So I'm going to work on another one, see if there's any other available that may be a little better. So we have this card panel done, and now it is time to get this glued onto the card base. So it's going to be the end of the card. I want to thank you guys so much for coming to my channel and watching this video today. I truly appreciate it. I hope that you'll like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the little bell so that you know you'll receive more videos when they come out. I do have an unboxing video coming out next, so make sure you guys tune in for that. And then also make sure you join me over on Instagram, because I have a bunch of cards that I do not make videos for. So I would love for you to go over there and take a look at those cards. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much. Please leave a comment down in the comment section so that I can go back and forth with you guys. Tell me what you liked about the card, what you don't like about the card, what maybe you would change. So this is the card here. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.